Most people think that if God were speaking to them, it would be loud, obvious, undeniable, a voice from the sky, a dramatic sign, something impossible to ignore. But here's the truth most people miss. God rarely speaks in noise. He speaks in patterns, in whispers, in things you almost dismiss. And that's why so many people ask the same question. Is this God, or am I just imagining it? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to recognize something in your own life, something that's been happening more than once, and you'll realize you were never imagining it. Let's start with the first sign. Number 1, the inner voice that doesn't sound like you. Have you ever had a thought, not loud, not emotional, but clear, and it didn't feel like your usual thinking? It wasn't fear, it wasn't overthinking, it wasn't anxiety, it was calm, direct, certain, almost like someone placed the thought there and stepped back. Most people ignore this. They assume it's just their mind. But here's what most people don't realize. Not every thought you have originates from you. Some thoughts guide, some thoughts warn, some thoughts redirect. And the ones from God don't argue with you. They don't shout. They simply present truth and wait. The Bible says, "My sheep hear my voice," not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly enough to recognize if you're paying attention. Number 2, repeated messages you can't escape. This is where it gets undeniable. You hear the same message again and again and again. Different places, different people, different situations, but the same core message. You open a video, it's there. You hear a conversation, it's there. You read something randomly, it's there. At first it feels like coincidence, but then it keeps happening. And something inside you starts to say, this is not random. Because it isn't. God doesn't rely on one signal. He confirms through repetition. But here's what most people miss. Repetition is not pressure, it's patience. God will repeat the message until you stop ignoring it. Number 3, a deep sense of peace that doesn't make logical sense. This one confuses people the most because it doesn't match your circumstances. Nothing has changed externally. The situation is still uncertain. The outcome is still unclear. But internally, you feel calm, not happy, not excited, just steady. And that doesn't make sense because by logic, you should be stressed, but you're not. Here's the truth. That kind of peace is not emotional. It's spiritual. It doesn't come from understanding everything. It comes from trusting something deeper. And the Bible describes it clearly. A peace that surpasses understanding. In other words, peace that shows up before the explanation. So if you feel calm in a situation that should make you anxious, don't ignore it. That might be God telling you you're on the right path. Number 4, doors closing that you tried to force open. This is the one people resist the most because it feels like rejection. You tried, you pushed, you planned, and it didn't work. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. And the more you try to force it, the more resistance you feel. Most people take this personally. They think, I'm failing. But here's what most people miss. Not every closed door is failure. Some doors are closed because you're not meant to walk through them. And God will block what you're trying to force to protect what you're meant to find. The frustration you feel? It's not punishment, it's redirection. Number 5, a growing discomfort with things you used to be okay with. This one is subtle, but powerful. Things that never bothered you before start to feel wrong. Conversations feel empty, habits feel heavy. Environments feel draining. Nothing changed externally, but internally, you've shifted, and you can't go back to how you used to be. Most people misunderstand this. They think they're overthinking, becoming too sensitive, or changing too much. But here's the deeper truth. You're not becoming uncomfortable. You're becoming aware, and awareness changes everything. Because once you see clearly, you can't unsee. And that discomfort, it's not confusion, it's alignment. Number 6, a pull you can't logically explain. Have you ever felt drawn towards something without knowing why? Not pressured, not influenced, just pulled toward a decision, a direction, a change. And even when you try to ignore it, it doesn't go away. That's not random, that's guidance. But here's what most people get wrong. They wait for full clarity before moving. And that clarity never comes because God doesn't show the whole path. He shows the next step. And the pull you feel, that's the invitation. Now let's pause for a second. Because if you've been listening closely, you've probably recognized at least one of these in your life, maybe more. And here's the question you need to ask yourself. What if this isn't coincidence? What if this isn't your imagination? What if this is communication? Because here's the truth nobody says clearly enough. God is always speaking. The real question is, are you recognizing the way He speaks? Not through noise, but through patterns. Not through pressure, but through peace. Not through force, but through invitation. And here's the part that changes everything. God's voice doesn't control you. It guides you. You can ignore it, delay it, question it, but it doesn't disappear. It waits. So if you've been feeling something lately, a thought that won't leave, a direction that keeps returning, a peace that doesn't make sense, a discomfort you can't ignore, don't brush it off. Don't overanalyze it. And don't dismiss it as imagination, because it might be something far more important than that. You're not being confused. You're being called. And here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. What is the one thing you keep feeling but haven't acted on? Don't explain it. Don't justify it. Just acknowledge it. And if this opens your eyes, type listening in the comments. One word, because that word means something. It means you're no longer ignoring the signs. It means you're paying attention. And it means you're ready to hear what's been speaking to you all along.